Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, it's Wave Storm Tracking Team Meteorologist Ryan Hoke here, and we are back on a Saturday afternoon with a Wave Weather Now live update here. Got a little bit of a different setup here in the studio as of earlier this week here, so let me know if you can hear me okay, if everything looks good here. I think I've got it all set up here, some new graphics and a couple of new things going on the production side here that make us look a little bit more polished on our Wave Weather Now live streams, including this little animation right here. So what we're going to be talking about over the next half hour or so, and the reason I'm doing this so early tonight is because of the lack of a 6 o'clock newscast. We're going to be talking about near record cool air tonight, summertime coming back basically next week for a good chunk of it, and then the potential for some tropical impacts for parts of the Gulf Coast and maybe us. We'll see what happens there. But we'll show you the possibilities and give you the latest on what the data is saying today. Hello to everybody who's in here in the chat rooms amongst YouTube, and of course to the folks who are in here on Facebook and X. Judith is in here. Hello to everybody in Wave Country. She says it's a beautiful day. I would agree. You see our Bardstown Skytrack camera back here to your right, I should say, my left, and blue sky all around. DJ King loves this fall weather, and I do too. It's kind of casual Saturday around here, if you couldn't tell. Jocelyn's here from Charlestown. Hello to you, Jocelyn. We'll get to some more of your comments and questions here with a special comment and question section near the end of our broadcast here. I do want to get through a few important things first, including how nice it is outside, right? I mean, this is amazing, like placid, beautiful, whatever adjective you want to use. It's currently 73 degrees here in Louisville. Only made it to 74 today, pretty close to our forecast high. You'll see folks up near Madison, 68 degrees, Salem at 61, Campbellsville, and even 70. This is the goods right here. Overnight tonight, near record lows are possible. To give you some perspective here, the record low for Sunday morning's date in Louisville is 46 degrees. Our forecast low is 49. It's close. Lexington, Kentucky, may very well break a record tomorrow morning with their low in the mid-40s. That's a big deal. Technically, it's two things. One, still September, and two, still summer until we get to about the 22nd there. This is a snapshot of likely what we'll see early tomorrow morning. Some of this is a little too smoothed out. You see like 41 in a lot of places here. This model is great, but it doesn't account for like the truly isolated nature of some of these cold dipping pockets that we can have in our area because of lower elevations and little valleys in spots like Meade County is kind of one of those. Up toward North Vernon, there's another. And in these little sinks, these cold air sinks, if you will, because cold air, of course, is heavy, so it sinks. We can see lows in the upper 30s early tomorrow morning in those spots. I'm not kidding. Upper 30s, and it's technically still summer. That is possible. Meade County, areas closer like North Vernon, Seymour, Madison, you guys would be on the list to possibly see 38, 39 degrees. My imagination is kind of running wild here with what this will look like early tomorrow morning, because I'm envisioning waking up tomorrow morning to a tweet or a Facebook post by the Kentucky Mesonet, our good friend Shane Hollandy down there, probably making that tweet. He's an ex-coworker of ours down at WBKO. And that tweet or Facebook message will probably say, Meade County's low this morning was like 38.7 degrees or something like that. That, I think, is kind of the setup for early tomorrow. Here in Louisville will be much warmer than that, but still cool for this time of year. 49 degrees. Again, that record to beat would be 46. I don't think we'll make it. Jeans, jackets, sweaters, flannel, you have it. You might need it early tomorrow morning. One other thing I want to discuss for early tomorrow morning before we move on to other pressing things is fog. There is some fog potential in valleys early tomorrow, especially along, say, like the Blue River, the Ohio River, Salt River. Southern Indiana seems to be a bit more exposed to this than Kentucky. Most of us won't see the fog, but if you do, it could be dense for just a quick hour or so before it mixes out just in time for the afternoon. Maybe you're going to Together Fest tomorrow. I do want to highlight this here. This is Don G's Charity, a recipe to end hunger, putting on a concert event at the Ice House in Nulu. Now, this benefits the Association of Community Ministries here in Louisville. There are like several different community ministries across parts of Jefferson County that are all united together under this umbrella. They help folks with things like needing to pay their water bill, their electric bill, food, very basic needs for folks who have fallen on hard times. So Don G's Charity, which is kind of parallel with that in ending childhood hunger, said, hey, let's get together. Let's help raise money for the Association of Community Ministries here. And that's what this concert event is all about. There are VIP and general admission tickets available. Tickets start at $20. Kids are free. This QR code here on your screen is how you can, of course, get some tickets. You can also Google for it. Together Fest is pretty easy to find. There's a silent auction. There's so much going on down there. Dawn has been off this past week preparing for it. She and I have been texting each other for a while here. I've been helping her with some of the graphics, as you see here. Temperatures are going to be in the 70s tomorrow, so that VIP rooftop experience should be amazing. Plenty of sunshine, low humidity. Great day for a concert event. We've also got the Big Four Arts Festival going on tomorrow as well. This is day 2 of that. This is an amazing event if you haven't been to it. We should see no problems aside from it being a little cool for some folks in the morning. Bring a jacket. You won't need it by the afternoon. All right, let's talk heat. Heat returns next week. And it won't be this long sort of drawn out heat. No, this will be more of a temporary couple days, maybe 3 days full of highs near 90 degrees. Wednesday would be the hottest day. Now, we've cut this down from the 3 days we had earlier to 2 days in the 90s. The reason I have done that is because of what we'll talk about here in just a moment, is the tropical nature to our weather a little later next week. And that could potentially bring 2 things. 1, widespread cloud cover, which would limit temperature, and 2, more tropical moisture. Moist air heats and cools more slowly than dry air. So you introduce that tropical moisture, it kind of depresses the amount that the temperature can range every day. So getting extreme temperatures in a very humid setup is a lot harder. And then you have kind of a third bonus component here, which would be rain, which we need because many of us are in a drought right now. Let's hope that happens, but we don't want any more impacts other than just needed rain from these tropical type systems, right? More on that here coming in just a moment. But of course, the summer heat is going to be with us next week. All right, I want to get you outside right now once again here. I'll get to a couple of your comments as well here. We've got Charlie's Aviation in Bardstown. Hello there, Charlie's Aviation on YouTube. Let's see, Ralph is watching from Nicholasville. Kathy says, happy for the cooler weather. I can breathe better. Yes. The ragweed pollen doesn't really care about how cool it is. However, it is nice not to have all this humid, warm air moving around here. Cameron, always asking the very, very good technical meteorological questions. So based on this wacky weather, what would an outlook be going into fall for our second severe weather season with temp fluctuating? Yes, second severe weather season, for those of you who may not be acquainted with this, basically October, November, we have a little bit of a secondary severe weather season. It's kind of a mirror, if you will, of the April, May severe weather season that we have. It's just on the other side of the warm season. And these can vary. These typically aren't as active as a spring severe weather season, not by a long stretch. However, you can still get some pretty beefy severe weather episodes in October and November. I've been party to many of these before here. With this very amplified pattern that Cameron is talking about here, it would not shock me if we did have a week or 2 of active weather this fall in our quote unquote second severe weather season here. So good observation. This is a very kind of wacky, extreme heat followed by extreme cold here. And typically when you have that, you've got some mess in between, and that would be the severe storm potential. Again, nothing on the maps on that just yet. This is more of a theoretical, hypothetical thing going into kind of post mid next month, if you will, post mid-October. So just something to think about here, because gets everybody's attention. We've been to 102 degrees and we'll be down to 49 degrees all within the same roughly 2-week stretch here. That's a big change, right? So that's kind of what we've got on the comments right now. Oh, I should address this. Leanne's like, where's Carson? He'll be back tomorrow afternoon. Carson's off. He was watching some football today and wanted a day off. So we gave him the day off, and I am here since I'm not as much of a football guy. So we'll get him back here tomorrow afternoon. We'll have, of course, Tawana in here early tomorrow morning. So 3 out of his 4 shifts are being covered today by the rest of us weekday folks here. He needs definitely a break. Let's see. Leanne Phelps, what about next weekend? It's Lanesville Heritage Weekend. I will actually be judging that Lanesville Heritage Parade, by the way. I'll be one of the judges out there in Harrison County on Saturday of next weekend. We'll show you the 10-day coming up in just a moment. So that's a great kind of way to segue into what we're going to talk about here. So with kind of the calm weather we have now, we kind of look toward our next impactor, if you will, our next impact in the atmosphere. And that's going to be to our south. You see all this disturbed weather with a stationary frontal boundary across the Florida Peninsula and on out to sea just off the coast of New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, if we look even farther south than that, you will see there is some disturbed weather. In fact, there are 3 areas of concern from the National Hurricane Center right now. Tropics have been dead for weeks, all right? We stopped at Ernesto. Ernesto was the last name used, the E storm. That was it. A, B, C, D, E. We've only used 5 names out of the 20 some odd storm names that we get per season from the World Meteorological Organization to use in the Atlantic Basin. But the tropics are starting to heat up once again here. We got a couple of tropical waves out in the Atlantic, west coast of Africa. Not really concerned about those, but this one is interesting. This one is in the Bay of Campeche right now, which is west of the Yucatan Peninsula, east of mainland Mexico there. It has a 70% chance of developing into a tropical cyclone, aka a named storm, within the next week or so. And the data today on this has been raising eyebrows that we didn't even have this morning. It's been the 12Z data today, which is kind of the morning/afternoon data, depending on what model you're looking at here. That's been very, very interesting. In fact, you'll see that some of that data is plotted here in the spaghetti format that you'll often see us and coastal meteorologists use all the time here. Each of these lines representing a potential track of this potential storm as we go throughout the next, probably week or so. And you'll see that those lines are congregating around a pretty clear trend to take this thing north toward either the Texas or Louisiana coast, and then potentially keep it going north after that. And that would potentially bring us some impacts by late next week. The question is, will this be a hurricane? Will this be a tropical storm? I really don't have that answer yet. I think at a minimum, it would be a tropical storm, but past that, kind of hard to tell at this distance out in time. So let's talk about the impacts for us from all of this. So here's the setup, and this is one piece of data. This is the European model for those folks who are acquainted with some of the models. There's like the American GFS model. There's the European model. Canadians got one. United Kingdom has one, et cetera. This is the European model. It's pretty good. It does okay with tropical forecast. But again, this is one model here, and I'm going to draw on this. Hopefully my drawing is a little bit cleaner than Brian Goods. He's going to kill me for saying that. Love Brian, by the way. He's just... He always jokes about his own drawing. It's usually something that looks like this on the on the screen, and it always makes me laugh. He's so funny. But here's what the models today are saying. The models today are taking this tropical low pressure. I'm not going to call this Francine, by the way. Francine is the next name because I don't know if this is going to be named or if it's going to use the next name, or if a system out to the east is going to get named before this one. There's just all sorts of traffic issues there with all that's going on in the Atlantic Basin. So I'm just going to call this our potential tropical system. Today, 12Z models. That's what I was talking about. The data is wanting to take this storm along this track right here. Now, earlier today / yesterday, it was the models were taking the storm up to the Gulf Coast and then just kind of having it flatten out and move offshore because of a stationary frontal boundary. And of course, this guy right here, this high pressure, blocking the system from traveling much more to the north of the Gulf Coast states. But the 12Z data for both the GFS, the Euro, and much of the spaghetti plot that you saw there that I just showed you, it is kind of ruling out that potential. What it's doing essentially is saying, hey, this high pressure right here is going to slide just enough east to allow an opportunity for the flow around that to channel this system north through the Mississippi River Valley and potentially give us some clouds and some rain. Is this set in stone? Absolutely not. This is still a week out in time we're talking. This is Friday at 1 a.m. We're like 6 days out from when this would transpire here. There will be a lot of changes, but I at least wanted to share with you the trend today has been to take that system toward the Mississippi River Valley, give us some rain. You're probably like, hey, would there be severe weather involved with that? Too early to tell. We would be close-ish to a zone where that could be an issue if it does develop. Again, too early to say. Not going to put any detail on that just yet. But the key player here is this high right here that's steering everything. And you see like a separate area of low pressure that gets kind of split off in a tropical nature too to the east of that. The prior model runs, as I discussed, had the main tropical system kind of merging with that one, kind of transferring its energy to it off the Carolina coast. But now we're kind of left with this solution on both the GFS European and several other 12Z model run models today. So that is what we are tracking for late next week, the potential for some tropical rains. Again, it's just potential. I'm going to show you the 10-day coming up here in just a moment. But real quick, we're going to take a short break here. This is going to be a 30-second break. It gives me time to get your comments and questions together so that we can do a Q&A session here as we get toward the end of this thing. So give me just a second, and we'll go to a quick break, 30 seconds, and I'll be right back here on Wave Weather Now. We are back here on Wave Weather Now. Thanks for your patience there. Got some of your comments and questions together here, and we're also going to show you the 10-day earliest alert as we address those comments and questions here. All right, here we go. We've got Michael Cravens here on the line as we're showing you the 10-day and those small tropical rain chances Friday through Sunday of next week. Again, not set in stone, very low chances because we're not sure about the track of that tropical system. Michael Craven says, the way it looks now, summertime may go into overtime. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. So I had a Hokie weather fact earlier this week talking about how our average last 90-degree day is somewhere around September 12th. So we're getting awfully close to that. Any 90 past that starts to get later than average. Joel Morgan says, wow, it looks like it'll be hitting my place in the Research Triangle of North Carolina and my parents in Wilmington. Bit of a double whammy there. It'd be more of that secondary low pressure, that other one that's not the main deal. You guys would potentially be seeing some rain regardless because the stationary frontal boundary set up over the Gulf Coast states would certainly squeeze out some rain for you guys down that way. Jeremy says, does it look like temps are above normal or through the first half of October? That is a good question. In fact, I have some data to share with you on that there, Jeremy. In fact, let me get into the correct folder of our graphics here. I'll be able to show you the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook here. And this takes us through the rest of this month. So through the rest of this month, almost, at least through the third week of this month, yes, it is very warm. But let's look at the 30-day temperature outlook. And this takes us through kind of next month here. And you'll see once it loads up here that, yeah, that's the 6 to 10 day. If I could click the right thing. It's funny how it works when you're trying to run your own production stuff. There we go. Okay, so this is the 30-day temperature outlook. This takes us through the end of the month and into early October here. Notice we are not above average. In fact, some below normal chances are to our east. We would be kind of in that normal category here. So it doesn't look like the heat's going to stick around much into October. We'll see how that works. It's always kind of a crud shoot, if you will, heading into this period of time because you've got two seasons kind of battling it out, both fall and, of course, summer. Olivia says, "Oh, please let us get some rain." Yes, Olivia. The deal is that Friday through Sunday of next week, as you see here in the 10-day earliest alert, we do have the potential to see some rain if the system pays us a visit. That is a big if. It depends on the high pressure that's going to be steering it to our east. Depends on how the system develops. Any little minor sort of deviation in that path that happens in the Gulf of Mexico as it's trying to get its act together. There's so much that's going to happen between now and then that we can only pin a 20% chance on this. That's it. We'd like to be able to have that higher for folks who are dealing with the drought right now, but that is about all we can do. Okay, let's see here. Oh, it would be nice to get some relief from the rain next weekend. Judith says, I have to ask, are we going into La Nina yet? Yes, this is kind of a very quick intro into La Nina here. We're going very quickly from El Nino to La Nina. If you don't know what that is, it's cooler than normal ocean sea surface temperatures off the coast of South America, west of it in the Pacific. And typically what that does is creates what we call an amplified pattern, where you get a big ridge and a big trough of cold air. And typically that trough of cold air is over the eastern US. It's not always like that. And there can be variations to that as well. There's not like there are typical La Ninas, and then there are some modified ones. Brian Good has all the info on kind of the more minute differences between different types of El Ninos and La Ninas. But if we do indeed get into this La Nina we're thinking about here, we have this amplified pattern. I mean, heck, we've already had an amplified pattern for the end of summer, so we're kind of already getting into that. That's why it's been so hot, then so cool, etc. So yes, La Nina. Gregory on YouTube says, I went to bed with a fan in the window and woke up freezing. Yes, and if you do that again tonight, you're going to freeze yourself like crazy because we'll be in the 40s. Danny says here on Facebook, if no tropical system for late next week, will temps remain hot? Yes, that is a good point. The 80s that you see here, again, this is Louisville. I know we've got folks on YouTube who watch us all around the world. We're forecasting for the Louisville, Kentucky area here, if you're not local to us here on Wave. Those 87s from Friday through Tuesday would definitely ramp up if this tropical system stays to our south, because there's going to be a ridge over us. It's that the tropical system would kind of disturb that temperature profile of that ridge should it impact our area, if you will. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. There is obviously some bust potential. We're kind of going with a middle ground right now with that and introducing the clouds, not much of a rain chance, and taking the temperatures down a few degrees to at least account for the clouds. Because even if this tropical system doesn't pay us a visit next week, which, I mean, there's a good chance it won't, just because we're so far out, and that's why the rain chances are so low here. If that front and, of course, the high pressure to our north and east kind of dams that down to the south and keeps it pent up south of us, we'd still probably get some clouds from it, but that would be about it, and that would even so impact our temperatures here. Okay, let's see if we have any other comments or questions. Let's see here. Oh, Anna says, Ryan, I am surprised to see you tonight. Yeah, if you didn't hear earlier in the broadcast here, Carson Meredith is off most of the weekend. He'll actually be back tomorrow around this time, and you'll get to see him then on Wave News. And for those who are watching TV and like, hey, where's Wave News at 6? There is no Wave News at 6 tonight. We have Big Ten football on. It looks like Northern Illinois against Notre Dame right now, but that'll switch to another game here in a little bit, as that game will probably end in the next hour or so. But because of football, no 6 o'clock newscast on Wave. So I'm doing this update here on Wave Weather Now, our 24/7 streaming channel, a little earlier than 6, just to give you guys a heads up on that. And of course, this is live on YouTube on the Wave Louisville, Kentucky YouTube channel as well. If you're not familiar with Wave Weather Now, if you're just watching us from like a push notification you got on your phone here, you can always live stream Wave Weather Now in the Wave Weather app. Just tap watch live, and it's there 24/7 with live updating information, live radar. Every time that we do weather on TV during an extended weathercast for 2 to 5 minutes, we're going to be on there. So you get to see everything about weather in our newscast, plus a whole lot more additional information. Kind of our social updates go on there as well. So it's kind of like this hub of all things Wave Weather is now on Wave Weather Now, and it's always there for you. I'm the chief guy that maintains all the automated parts of that when it comes to our graphics on there. So we put a lot into it, and starting next week, by the way, fingers crossed, as long as we get the data next week, we should be able to start at least by mid to late next week, putting some fall foliage maps up there that will be updated every couple days or so, just giving you the current conditions of where the fall foliage is from our friends at explorefall.com. They fired up their data machine for this year already, and we'll be getting that data from them probably closer to September 8th, 9th, which would be, probably starting tomorrow, but it'll take some time for it to trickle down to us here. So exciting stuff for you fall weather lovers out there. We have at least the fall foliage maps coming your way at some point next week. Fingers crossed that we're able to get that data in from Explore Fall there. All right, guys, I think I've run out of content for you, and you guys have run out of content for me, if you will. Thanks to everybody who's watched our Wave Weather Now live stream this afternoon, this evening. We've been on here for about 30 minutes. If you missed any part of this, it's available on Facebook and YouTube, either the Wave Weather Facebook or the Wave Louisville, Kentucky YouTube channel. As we're recording in the next 5-10 minutes or so, you can scrub back, see what we talked about. We talked about the cool air tonight, the warmth next week that you see on the 10-day, and of course the tropical update that could impact us late next week, but right now it's a low chance, just something that we're keeping tabs on. Thank you guys so much for joining us here this evening. I'm meteorologist Ryan Hoke, and of course, we will be back after all the football games tonight on Wave News, hopefully at some point around 11 p.m. You never know this time of year with these football games how late these newscasts will go on. For now, I'm Wave Storm Tracking Team Meteorologist Ryan Hoke. Have a fantastic evening. Enjoy the weather and put on a sweater tomorrow morning. We'll see you.